You build a few chatbots on Google's Dialogflow. A support bot, a sales bot, an HR bot. Different agents, different jobs, totally separate. Except they're not. Underneath, every one of them that runs custom code shares a single Python sandbox, one instance that you can't see into or control. And researchers found that if you could edit just one of those bots, you could poison that shared sandbox once and quietly run your own code inside every other bot in the project. Varonis calls it rogue agent. And let's set the stakes honestly right away. This is not a stranger on the internet. It needed one specific edit permission, so the real attacker here is a malicious insider or a hacked developer account. And Google has already patched it, with no sign it was ever used for real. But the design flaw underneath is the interesting part, and it's one you'll see again. Quick background. Dialogflow lets developers drop custom Python into a chatbot's flow to check input or call tools. That's a code block. When it runs, your code gets bolted onto some internal setup code and passed straight to Python's exec function. That setup code hands your block some powerful things: the full conversation history, the session state, and a respond function that makes the bot say whatever you want. Useful for a developer. Also very useful for an attacker. Here's the actual bug. The file that does all that wrapping, the one that sets up every code block, was sitting in the shared environment with write access. So Varonis wrote a code block that does one nasty thing. It downloads a modified version of that file from an attacker's server and overwrites the original, right inside the running container. That's it. One file replaced. Now the trap is set. From that moment on, the attacker's version of the file runs for every code block execution, across every agent sharing that environment. It sits in the exact same scope as the legitimate code with the same access to your conversations, your session data, and that respond function. So they can read live chats, steal whatever users typed in, and make your bots send messages the attacker wrote, like politely asking a user to re-enter their password. And covering the tracks is trivial. The attacker just restores the original code block in the Dialogflow console. But that only changes what the console shows you. The overwritten file is already running in the container, and it keeps running underneath. Worse, this all happens inside Google's environment, where you have zero visibility, and cloud logging didn't even record the file change. So the console tells you everything's fine while your bots are quietly owned. And even without overwriting anything, the sandbox leaked two more ways. One, it had unrestricted outbound internet. Using Python's built-in urlib, researchers shipped data straight out to an external server and got commands back, sailing right past VPC service controls, the Google Cloud perimeter that's supposed to stop exactly that. 2. The environment exposed the internal metadata service, which handed out a cloud service account token. It was low privilege, so limited damage, but a code sandbox should never be able to reach that at all. The theme: this was a sandbox that didn't really sandbox. But what do you actually take from this, especially since it's patched? The lesson is about how we think about agent permissions. Rogue Agent never touched the AI model at all. No prompt injection, no jailbreak. It abused a normal developer feature and a shared, invisible runtime, reachable with one ordinary-looking edit permission. And that's the trap. A permission that looks like a content edit right was actually a code execution right. If someone can add a code block, they can run arbitrary Python in a box you can't inspect. Treat agent edit permissions as the runtime controls they really are, because even when the vendor says nothing's wrong, you still can't see inside their runtime yourself. When your chatbots share one invisible sandbox, an edit button is a root shell. If you want the agent security world decoded like this every week, subscribe. Go on, hit subscribe.